Welcome to the Com Analytics channel. I'm Boris Tizangausen. July 10th, here are the main news stories at this moment. While the Kremlin pretends that everything is under control and claims that the fuel crisis will be over any moment now, oil refineries and military industrial plants in Russia continue to burn. And with each passing day, it's happening more and more often. Ukrainian drones have entered a real harvest season. Today, several oil refineries are once again on fire. Tankers at the military industrial plant as well, but let's go in order. Let's start with the Moscow Oil Refinery, which suddenly caught fire again. Let me remind you, this plant with a capacity of 14 million tons was completely shut down after the previous attack by Ukrainian drones. Two primary processing units were put out of commission. But since this plant is of strategic importance to Russia, primarily to Moscow, let me remind you, it supplied 40% of Moscow's fuel, so enormous resources were thrown into its repair. The most interesting thing is that, despite the fact that drones were flying toward Moscow today and a missile threat was declared, the Russians claim that the fire at this oil refinery is absolutely unrelated to the drone attack. It's like there's a new playbook now to completely deny everything. To deny that drones even exist. There are still storage tanks left there, fuel reserves. So there is still something to attack. Can you imagine, tomorrow Putin issues a decree for all Russian citizens to completely ignore drones, as if they don't exist. Just don't notice them. No drones, no problem. Or maybe the Russians themselves are already setting fire to this oil refinery in advance, before our drones arrive. Like, don't hit it, it's already burning. Don't kick someone when they're down. Today, Putin will once again hold an Emergency Security Council meeting. I don't know, he'll probably be scribbling with a pencil on a piece of paper again, handing out some valuable advice like, we need to fix everything quickly, let's go. By the way, Vice Prime Minister Novak seems to have drunk some truth serum, and do you know what he said? It turns out that the gasoline shortage in Russia happened because of the strikes on oil refineries. So that's what it's about. But Putin said that the drones were meant to ruin Russians' vacations in the south, to spread fear, while Novak, it turns out, says that the fuel shortage is because of the drone attacks. Then Novak apparently realized he had said too much and corrected himself a bit. He added, that overall we are fully supplied with fuel and even exporting it. Oh, Novak, go tell that to the Russian regions. Well, today there's just an impressive list of targets hit by Ukrainian drones. And it's simply enormous. Today, another oil refinery was hit, the Ilsky Refinery in the Krasnodar region. Russian authorities there claim that the fire at the plant was caused by falling drone debris. Well, it's so clear here, same old playbook. Apparently, the new playbooks haven't reached here yet. That is to say that, yes, the plant is on fire, yes, it has completely shut down, but it's not related to drones. In general, this Ilsky refinery is quite powerful, processing almost 7 million tons of oil per year. It has its own storage facilities and, of course, rail shipment capabilities. Why is this Ilsky refinery important? It has strategic significance for southern Russia. It supplies fuel not only to the Krasnodar region, but also to neighboring regions. It is located near the ports of the Black Sea. In general, the day before, the refinery in Slavyansk-on-Kuban was attacked, which is very close by, and now this one has been hit. This is a big message to southern Russia, and first and foremost to the occupied Crimea. That means fuel there will soon disappear completely. By the way, friends, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It's important. You can do it right now without putting it off. We are fighting against Putin's propaganda, but together we can do it much more effectively, so be sure to subscribe. Also today, the Saratov Rosneft oil refinery was on fire. In fact, it was burning out. Reuters reports that this plant has completely stopped processing oil because it was attacked the day before, burned for 2 days, and today has come to a complete halt. The plant's only primary processing unit with a capacity of 20,000 tons per day has failed, and repairing it could take a very long time. Well then, by the way, here's an interesting piece of news from Russia. Companies in the Novosibirsk region have been advised to switch employees to remote work due to the fuel situation. This is in fact a decree from the regional government. They are introducing a state of heightened readiness and recommending that organizations, regardless of ownership type, switch employees to remote work. Residents of the region are also advised to limit travel by private car within the region and beyond until the regime is lifted. So most likely until Putin is gone, physically gone. It's just astonishing how one balding, nasally voiced man managed to bury a gigantic country with some of the richest natural resources. Well, Putin told you himself that there are enough reserves, that it's impossible to cripple the Russian economy, and that the energy sector can't be taken down. He said that its margin of safety is better than anyone else's. The best energy sector in the world, according to him. Meanwhile, Russians are already walking everywhere and switching to horses, and he's still going on about some kind of stability. Meanwhile, Mordovia is breaking records. People there are waiting in line for fuel for almost 3 days already. Wow, just a little more and they'll be standing there for a whole week. Residents of Saransk report that they've been waiting in line for at least 2 days, and most likely they're going for a record on the 3rd day. Can you imagine that? Almost 3 days in line just to get gasoline. That's the kind of humiliation Russians are still willing to endure, but God forbid, of course, God forbid they say who's really to blame. Never. It's always the Ukrainians, NATO, Trump, Biden, reptilians, anyone you can think of. But never the balding chupacabra. Also today in the Sea of Azov, our drones destroyed another 12 tankers. And when Russia runs out of tankers and oil refineries, what will they use to shoot down our drones? Honestly, I have no idea what topic Putin is gathering the Security Council for today. There are just so many topics. And, well, honestly, probably all of them are wonderful topics. I wonder how many emergency meetings Putin needs to hold to solve the problem. So as I understand it, he measures efficiency by the number of emergency meetings. But that's not all. Today, the Azov optical and mechanical plant in the Rostov region, located in the city of Azov, was also hit. And it's actually quite a significant enterprise. It's part of the Russian military-industrial complex, and they manufacture products there. Thermal imagers, night vision devices, laser rangefinders, fire control systems, sights for armored vehicles, for aviation, for ships. They also produce individual electronic components for missiles. In general, it's extremely difficult to replace such enterprises with anything else. That is, as a rule, they are unique. The production of optics, thermal imagers, and guidance systems requires not only specialized equipment but also qualified specialists. That's why even a temporary shutdown is disruptive. It breaks the supply chains of the Russian military-industrial complex. There you have it, signed, sealed, and delivered. But in the city of Azov, our drones decided to have a good time today. In the city of Azov today, in addition to this optics plant, all the main oil depots were hit. All of them, actually. That is, according to the available materials, fires have been confirmed at 5 oil storage facilities, and a transshipment infrastructure as well. The Port Oil Depot, the Don Terminal Oil Depot, the oil depot at the Azov railway station, and 2 oil depots in the southern industrial zone. So 5 oil depots gone just like that in Moscow. So when I open Russian news, today I opened RBC. I thought, well, maybe they'll say something about the crisis. Well, there was Novak, the one who said, yes, apparently it's because of the drones. So I found another piece of news there. In Moscow, to boost the birth rate, they married off Chinese robots to the song Mother Earth. This is not a joke. This is a completely real initiative that was carried out at the Pushkin Library. The marriage union was between an office worker robot and the blogger Robert. What an unpatriotic name. And the ballerina Matilda. Also not a very patriotic name. So all of this is part of promoting family values and increasing the birth rate. So in case you didn't understand why 2 Chinese robots were married, given an actual marriage certificate, had a robot dog bring them bracelets instead of rings, and then danced to the song Mother Earth. Can you even imagine this? Right now? And this is what they're doing in Moscow to increase the birth rate. Well, Putin needs it more. Biowaste, so at least this way, I guess. The year of the family, just the country, the country of endless cringe. They have the year of the family there, propaganda everywhere about traditional values. By the way, if you stop any Russian on the street and ask them to list traditional values, none of them will be able to. No one. Propaganda about increasing the birth rate. Like this, Chinese robots, Mother Earth, they're dancing there. Propaganda about starting a family. All of this is so that Putin has more cannon fodder. He needs even more. But Putin himself, for some reason, despite all this, family, year of the family, hides his own family from Russians. What is he afraid of? What is he afraid to show about his own little boars? But that's not all. It's burning. The Tver port. Our drones set the port in Tver on fire today. In general, it's one of the most important hubs. It's already the river port of the Upper Volga. It's used for transshipment of various cargo, including petroleum products and construction materials. So Ukrainian drones have started to destroy not only seaport logistics, but river logistics as well. And the port in Taganrog is burning too. I've already said that soon I won't have enough airtime for the show. Just to list how much our drones burn in a single day. More precisely, in Taganrog, the Kurganefte product oil terminal is on fire. The Russian authorities have confirmed both the attack and the evacuation, so apparently the fire there is quite serious. What does this terminal in Taganrog do, and why is it important? It receives petroleum products by rail, stores them in its tank farm, and transfers gasoline, diesel fuel, and other petroleum products onto sea vessels and then sends them further through the Sea of Azov. There it is. So, damage to this oil terminal disrupts the entire chain of shipping fuel by sea through the Sea of Azov. Even if the storage tanks remain intact, shutting down the pumping equipment, which is currently burning there, as well as shutting down the berths and pipelines, significantly reduces this port's throughput capacity. So, Putin decided to supply fuel to Crimea by tankers through the Sea of Azov. Our drones have burned tankers, already the fourth, almost the fifth dozen. Now, they've also burned the port infrastructure to completely close the issue. What did Putin say again? The Sea of Azov is now an internal sea of the Russian Federation. But what do you need this internal sea for, Putin, if it is completely controlled by Ukraine's unmanned systems? Well, as for the Ukrainians, they are performing a true feat. This feat will go down in all history textbooks and in every edition. We have an important fundraiser for the Defense Forces of Ukraine. Today we are starting a fundraiser for a pickup truck for the soldiers of the Tank Battalion, of the 31st Separate Mechanized Brigade. Unfortunately, the soldiers' vehicle was recently destroyed by an enemy drone. And now they need help. They recorded a video message for you. Please take a look.
Бажаю здоров'я. Ми бійці відділення Церберу з 31-ї МБР разом з Борисом Тізенхаузеном та 24-м каналом відкрили збір на автомобіль, який допоможе в виконанні наших бойових задач. Долучайтесь, разом ми сила. Слава Україні! Героям слава!
Let's help our warriors from the 31st Brigade. The link to the fundraiser is in the description of this video. There are mono, private, and PayPal options for those who want to help from abroad. And there is always a QR code in the corner. This is for those who are watching on another channel but also want to help. Our help, together with yours, is very much needed by the soldiers right now. Let's come together as we know how to do. And as always, in every episode, I want to say a special thank you. A huge thank you for helping our soldiers. Thank you from me personally and from them as well. Thank you so much. The news segment about Crimea from the Crimean partisans. It's been a while since we've talked about Crimea. The Crimean partisans, let me remind you, are a movement in Crimea with a very extensive network of people across the entire peninsula who both gather information and take active measures, despite the fact that there is a real manhunt for them there. Strong, brave people who are bringing Ukraine's victory and the reunification of Crimea with mainland Ukraine closer. So, news from our partisans. A new concept has appeared in Crimea, not gasoline stashes. That is, when I read about it, I thought, no way, this can't be real, but it's absolutely true. We used to joke that soon people in Russia would be giving a canister of gasoline as a wedding gift, but in Crimea, gasoline dealers have actually come up with a new scheme. That is, now there's a hunt for resellers going on there. And after all these limits and shortages, with the virtual end of free gasoline sales, these fuel dealers have appeared. But since they're afraid that the authorities will catch them, they've decided to deal gasoline using stash drops. The scheme works like this. The buyer finds the seller through closed channels, including Telegram, transfers the money, and then receives the coordinates. The place where the canister is hidden could be a forest belt, an abandoned garage. On the outskirts, somewhere, in general, they're operating like dealers of illegal substances. That's what it's come to in Crimea. I think soon we'll see a report that a dealer was caught with 3 liters of diesel in his pocket. Those Russian tankers will never make it to Crimea. Today, the moderator wrote that the Russians have once again sent a caravan of tankers along the same route. It's already the 4th time, or maybe the 5th. I've already lost count. And he wrote that he just can't figure out whether the Russians are training stupidity or courage with these tanker runs. In other words, which trait are they trying to develop in themselves? And now in Crimea, there's a shortage not only of gasoline. At the same time, obviously, there are also issues with electricity. Thanks to our drones for that as well. And now there are disruptions with food supplies too. The gasoline crisis is quite logically dragging logistics down with it, along with power outages and problems in retail. The result is already visible on the price tags. That is, basic food products there have gone up by about 15% on average, and for some items, up to 80%. That's the price increase, and this is only the beginning. Just the beginning. Crimea is becoming an increasingly heavy and inconvenient burden for Putin. That is absolutely obvious. And he sits there at the meeting, this empty-eyed dummy scribbling on a piece of paper. In yesterday's episode, I even showed you how Putin, he held this emergency meeting, ordered various measures to be taken to ensure everyone is supplied with fuel. Let me remind you what decisions Putin made, what decisions were taken as a result of this meeting. To encourage small businesses to produce fuel. How that's supposed to work, nobody knows. And Putin also advised some companies that have fuel not to hold it back, but to distribute it to independent gas stations. In other words, he has no idea how this market works, what independent gas stations are, what is he even talking about? Judging by the faces of those present yesterday, no one there understood at all what Putin wanted from them. And in the end, Putin said that things should be arranged so that everything turns out well. Right at that moment, someone should have stood up and, hit him right on his bald head with a snuff box or some heavy award, and that would be it. That's it. Now everything will be fine. In other words, the senile old fool was just spouting hot air again. In the Kremlin, there won't be any decisions made. Crisis, crisis, and more crisis. In his reality, in Putin's reality, Russians and residents of the occupied territories don't have any particular problems with fuel. Right now over there, Valentin Valentinovich, give an order to Alexander Alexandrovich or someone. That's it, we'll sort everything out right now. And keep in mind the reserves. Right now, Russia is actively depleting them, while Ukraine is destroying more and more refineries and oil depots. And we're talking about truly industrial quantities. So even the calculations being made today will already be outdated tomorrow, because tomorrow even more refineries and oil depots will be taken out. And oil pumping stations and pumping stations as well. Our drones are taking everything out. Russia may be preparing a law to bring back exit visas. In other words, the Russian authorities are considering the possibility of reinstating the practice of exit visas, which, let me remind you, existed in the Soviet Union. This is being reported by the channel We Can Explain, citing their sources. And not just one source either. Moreover, a package of documents for the corresponding bill. Under the pretext of strengthening the security of Russian citizens, the Russian Foreign Ministry is already preparing this. And here, they even reveal some very interesting details about this new initiative. That is, they plan to introduce tourist exit visas. For example, for travel to unfriendly NATO countries. Russians will only be able to travel in organized groups of at least 10 people, following a pre-approved route. Well, that's just wonderful, in my opinion. For other countries, the list is still being developed. Individual tourism will remain possible, but an exit visa will be required in any case. The publication quotes one of its sources. There shouldn't be a situation like now, where you just buy a ticket and fly. The state must give permission. Let me remind you, the ban on traveling abroad appeared in Russia during the Stalin era. In other words, in 1935, a law was passed in the USSR that equated fleeing abroad with treason punishable by death. Until 1991, in order for Soviet citizens to travel to foreign countries, they had to go through numerous approvals, obtain permission from the OVR, get that very exit visa, and generally undergo many checks for reliability. I still find myself amazed at the unique ability of the underground heel. How did you manage to ruin The largest, the biggest country in the world with such a colossal reserve of natural resources, how did you manage to ruin it all in just a few years? And by the way, he could just come out now and say that there will be no bans at all. Like, nothing will happen, don't worry. And with those darting little eyes of his, it would mean absolutely nothing at all. He has lied his whole life, you know, it's just astonishing. Well, I hope he doesn't have much time left. Even some Russians can't take it anymore. Well, friends, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, subscribe to this channel, don't forget. And let's help our tank crews from the 31st Brigade with their fundraiser for a vehicle. Our help is very much needed by them right now. The link to the fundraiser is in the description of this video. Let's give it an extra push. Have a peaceful day, everyone, and glory to Ukraine.